Well, of course, as many voters head out to those various polls since 7 a.m. this morning until the evening, that is 9 p.m. to be exact, there's a very important survey, rather, that will look at the satisfaction survey. It takes place at a time where there are criticisms, rather, on the IEC, and there have been some comments around the credibility of the IEC and the election. Now, the survey will look at about 300 voting stations across the country. There'll be about 50 persons, or voters rather, randomly selected from each voting station, and they'll get that sample, and that representative sample rather, of what the sentiment about the 2024 highly contested elections is going to be among South Africans. We understand that they need a 60% threshold in order to reveal those results to the public, and we expect, because the HSRC rather has been hired by the IEC to conduct the survey, that it will be the IEC itself to give us those results. But to explain all this data and the science to us, I am joined by specialist researcher at the HSRC, Professor Joleen Steyn-Kotze. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your patience here, as we have a lot of work going on at The Rock. This is a very important survey that you are conducting here at the HSRC to basically get a clear understanding of the sentiment regarding the 2024 polls. But first, where we can start is, a lot of people discredit polls and the representative sample that you look at. And someone may ask, what does 300 voting stations and 50 randomly selected voters tell us about the millions that are going out to various voting polls? Could you explain that further for us?
No, definitely, and thank you so much. When we look at polling, and especially the survey that we are doing, we are an established research council. We follow very, very rigorous data protocols that includes around sampling and data weighting. So many of our previous research, which would include the South African Social Attitude Survey, the Voter Participation Survey, follow those research methodological protocols in terms of data weighting to get us to a representative sample of the country.
And some may ask, the satisfaction survey, what is it serving to prove? And I think we were speaking about this earlier, and the important role of public perception, public trust in these various institutions, particularly here, the Chapter 9 institution, to carry out free and fair elections.
No, definitely. The election satisfaction survey is one of those instruments that will see how the public perceives the fairness of the process, electoral integrity, how they had experienced the process of voting. And that is quite critical because, there are many voices that are going to weigh in around freeness and fairness and credibility of elections, but the public voice is actually, for me, one of the most critical voices that we do need to get a sense of whether the broader South African voting public felt that, yes, indeed, these elections were free and fair, our principles of electoral integrity are being maintained, and it also provides insight into what was done well, what are some of the learning curves and so forth.
And lastly, what are the very important themes you're looking at when you specifically conduct the survey, rather, on the 2024 polls?
Well, we are looking around, as I said, public perceptions on how the voting process went. We are looking at questions of fairness, of freeness, integrity, and it is very, very important. So I want to urge the public that if you happen to be at one of our randomly sampled voting stations and you see our researchers in a blue bib, please assist us. That information is very important around the credibility of the elections.
All right, thank you very much. That was Prof. Joleen Steyn-Kotze outlining the very important work of the HSRC as they dabble in the question of the satisfaction survey with the 2024 polls. Of course, the voters are encouraged, if they do see researchers from the HSRC at their selected voting station, to take a few minutes to fill out that form and answer those questions with those researchers, so that you can get a full sample of the public perception, which is very important in a society such as ours, a constitutional democracy which values the public trust in these Chapter 9 institutions as we head towards, or rather already in, those highly contested 2024 polls, and we head towards those results in the next coming days. Over to you in studio, Onati.